Welcome to Open the Book Online, and today's story takes place a while after Jesus has lived and walked as a human being, and he's gone back to heaven with his Father. But his friends are still very much around, and they're teaching all about who Jesus is. In our story today, Simon Peter, gets quite surprised by God, who obviously wants everybody to know about his son, Jesus. So, the words we need to learn today for our wonderful actions that I know you're going to join in is, first of all, the name of this special man, a Roman centurion called Cornelius. We're going to salute and be really straight. Stand up straight. Then we may hear the name Simon or Simons, and we want to say who. When you hear the word snakes, I want to hear your best hissing like a snake. You can do a little movement like that. Beautiful. Next, you want to hear the word reptile, like a lizard. Let's see if you can stick your tongue out like a lizard. That's it. Have your little fingers out the front. If you hear the word birds, we might want to make a bird with our hands. And when you hear the word eat, we want some chomping noise. So, all ready? Let's open the book. Once upon a time, there was a very important man called Cornelius. He was a good man and a captain in the Roman army. He did a lot to help the poor people, and he and his family prayed and worshipped God. One day at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Cornelius decided to spend some time praying, so he went into his house and closed the door. He'd only just started saying his prayers when suddenly he heard a noise. He opened this and saw a man in shining clothes standing in front of him. Cornelius looked astonished. "Who are you?" he stammered. "Cornelius, God sent me to have a word with you. Now listen, here's the plan. God has heard your prayers and he knows that you are a very kind man. So he wants you to go to a place called Joppa and find a man called Simon." Who? "He's staying in a house with another man called Simon." Who? Two Simons? Yes, they're both called Simon. How do I know the difference? Yes, one's called Simon, the tanner, the other's called Simon, Peter. Which one do I need? Simon, Peter. So, Cornelius called a couple of his servants and another soldier and told them to go and look for Simon, the tanner, and Simon, Peter, and they set off. The next day at the house of Simon, the tanner, Simon, Peter decided to go up onto the roof to pray. As he was talking to God, a blanket suddenly fell out of the sky and made him jump. When he looked on it, he saw that there were all kinds of snakes and reptiles and birds on it. Then another blanket fell out of the sky, and that had snakes and reptiles and birds on it. Peter said, "Ugh," but he heard a voice say, "Don't say ugh. Why not eat them instead?" Peter was very confused by this. Then another blanket fell out of the sky, and this one was full of snakes and reptiles and birds too. They seemed to be all around him now, creeping and crawling and squawking, and the voice said, "Here's some more. You can eat these too." But Peter said, "We're not supposed to eat these kind of animals." And the voice said, "Don't say that. I decide what is okay and what is not okay." Just then Peter heard a shout outside. He went downstairs and saw some men standing at the gate. They asked him, "Are you called Simon?" "Yes," he said. "I'm also called Peter." The men stayed for a night, and the very next day they took Peter to see Cornelius. When they met Peter, Peter said, "I think God was telling me about you. I saw a lot of snakes and reptiles and birds, and God told me to eat them. So we're not supposed to." I think he was telling me that it's time for people who aren't Jews to get to know God. You see, at the moment, all the people who are followers are Jews, and we always thought that it was only for Jews, but it's not, is it? You're a good man, Cornelius. You are already getting to know God, and now he has sent me here to help you. Maybe you're tall or short. Do you like football, rugby, dancing or swimming? Do you go to the mosque or the synagogue, the church, or no particular religious building? Well, in our story, this is about two different people coming together because God knew they were both really important and they were both really special to him. I wonder if you've ever looked at somebody and just from looking at them said, "Well, I don't want to be their friend." Have a think. Maybe you've looked at somebody and thought, "Well, they wouldn't want to be friends with me." It's really easy to judge people and actually get it wrong. And Peter actually had been getting things wrong. He thought, well, God only really wants to know Jews and get Jesus known by Jews. So God spoke to Peter through a vision. And through a vision, he changed the way that he could see other people, and he changed in his understanding of who God was. So I've got a special prayer, and if you want to make it your own, just join in with an amen at the end. Dear God, can you help us to see other people as you see them? Can you help us not to judge people quickly and think wrong things about them? Thank you that you have made everybody important and unique, and that you always want to be our friend. Amen.